From This Week in Destiny to the mid-season's weapon tuning article. Now, they start off, basically, for archetypes. For pulse rifles, they basically reduce the auto-aim stat angle at 0 aim assist stat by 10%, because I guess they feel like some archetypes have too forgiving of near misses. Then, next on to bows. Lightweight bows will get increased fixed damage fall-off start distance from 15 to 25 meters, and increased fixed damage fall-off end distance from 20 meters to 45, as well as increasing final accuracy by 10%. Then, as well as submachine guns, they apparently heard a lot of negative feedbacks to Shayura's new reticle. So they made improvements to Shayura's Wrath aimed on sights dynamic reticle, excuse me. Then for shotguns, specifically in the lightweight frame, they reduced the spread angle of the outer horizontal pellets by 15%, slightly more toned frame. Then, as well, with a variety of things, exotic weapons, specifically Graviton Lance. Well, it was nice to see the Graviton Lance has been returned to glory after a long hiatus, and its current strength of the gun is too easy to use for how rewarding it can be, and the Cosmology explosion pushes its too close to primary ammo counterstrike for comfort. At the same time, it lags far behind Revision Zero's heavy burst mode and PvE damage, and that just didn't seem fair. So we've given it a substantial buff to its PvE damage, while at the same time reducing the damage the Cosmology explosion does to Guardians, and removing their extra aim assist that was granted by the Catalyst, which I didn't realize was still a thing. But keep an eye on Graviton Lance moving forward to see if it requires any further toothing, or whether it helps settle its healthy spot in the meta. Which Graviton Lance feels like it will never be balanced. It will either be absolute garbage, or it will be overpowered in the Crucible. I mean, that was literally Season 3. It was pretty meh until Warmind came out, and then it was the absolute cheese monster. And then, I guess, Forsaken came around and got nerfed, and it was never used by anyone but hipsters. So, but in Blade, the increased PvE damage by 67%, holy crap, removed extra aim assist from Hidden Hand, and reduced the damage dealt by Cosmology explosions by 40% against players. Damage in PvE is unchanged. Oh, yay. No Time to Explain has been somewhat surpassed in effectiveness by the returning champion of Graviton Lance, but given we are bringing that down, we wanted to make sure that No Time to Explain could immediately reclaim the throne, reducing range stat by 10 on that. So there's that. Fighting Lion fixed a bug where the perk application was preventing Fighting Lion from granting benefits of its Catalyst. Fixed an issue with the Chimera perk on the Catalyst that wasn't applying the buffs to kinetic and power ammo slots. So, going on to perks specifically. Gut Shot Straight. We initially made Slick Shot, or Slick Draw, and Gut Shot. We wanted to make sure that we weren't giving out substantial positive effects. It almost been constant uptime for free. You learn, we lead a little too hard on the penalties in a way that made them feel often more like a punishment than a worthwhile trade-off. As such, we substantially reduced the penalties of each perk, and in playtest, they feel significantly better than they did before. So for Gut Shot, they reduced the auto-aim penalty by 37.5%, same with Slick Draw reducing the auto-aim penalty by 33%. Now, Target Lock, the nerf in PvP as most Immortal spammers should have seen coming. Target Lock has had its time in the sun, but the ability to get such a large amount of damage with relatively minimal effort for accurate players has made this perk overwhelmingly obvious choice for every single slat roll. Literally, get 5 times Target Lock, just do it. Now, they reduced the maximum damage versus players from 40% to 25%. PvE is unchanged, but hopefully that reins in Immortal and other things that can hit accurately from now on. Now, in the future, some changes they want to go about. In Season 22, we have substantial shakeup to coming weapon sandbox in the form of Zoom. We will have more details to share closer to the release, but we wanted to briefly touch on what's going to happen at a high level. The initial changes are going to enforce something we're calling range compression, with 2 main goals. Reduce the variance between optimal engagement ranges for mid-range weapons like auto rifles, pulse rifles, and hand cannons, and slightly reduce the average engagement range in Crucible by pulling the maximum damage fall-off distances of many types. To do this, the highest achievable damage range fall-off of almost all weapon types will be reduced to some extent, with certain weapon types being reduced to more than others. And then in many cases, the lower edge of their damage fall-off ranges will be coming up. Below, you will find a table with the current damage fall-off start distances, with and without rangefinder for all primary weapons. Then their values in Season 22 with the new changes. We do not expect these values to be final, but we wanted to start the mid-range weapons to be even more even footing than they are in the live game. Keep in mind, with their damage fall-off start values being similar, weapons will be performing differently once their damage fall-off begins, as currently do in the live game. Rifle-style weapons will experience fall-off more gradually, while handheld ones will experience it more quickly. but there should be differences will be less extreme. In addition, we will have hand-tuned a small list of exotics and special weapons with the intention of keeping them near while they are in the live game, as opposed to allowing them to receive substantial buffs or nerfs with these overarching changes. But we will share more later. So, there's a lot of stats here that it's hard to say what it will be. Here, you can kind of roll through it, but basically a lot of things will have less range, and some things will have more range in case they were in the shorter field. Now, other things to look forward to in Season 22. Handguns were receiving several buffs aimed at improving their usefulness in PvE, including a base reload speed increase and damage increase to minor and major enemies. Sword Guard is getting substantial rework, as well as tuning to a handful of exotics, including a balance pass for Lemonarch and other touches to Touch of Malice. Changes to weapon perks, including buffs to Bipod, Envious Assassin, and Over Under. You know, the amount of people I've been hearing cheering for Envious Assassin, saying it's the go-to for a lot of weapons, why are they buffing it? It's already seeming like it's already good. Now, what about a second balance pass? In Season 23, work is in full swing here on the weapons team, which means a lot of things are still in flux. We do know for sure that glaives, and yes, that includes the class exotics too, will be getting some substantial tuning. We're excited to share details as we go further along. For now, we can let you know that we are looking into ways to make them feel better without making them any annoying to play against. And we're experimenting with things like reducing the delay after firing before you can melee, improving the base projectile speed, altering how shield energy is granted. If you're a glaive aficionado, we'd be interested to know how these changes strike you. Even if you're not, we still like to hear from you. I don't know. I always felt like with the classic glaives, I always felt like the animation to ready the hyper shot or the big shot that was special for every class glaive just took too long. It felt like, I think it's like 2 seconds to proc the special zaps on all the class glaives, and it never felt like it was quick enough to warrant using it. But, I mean, I'm not a glaive aficionado, so I have no idea what would be a proper use. I know there's tons of people that are like, just give us the Synthesept build back, but that's probably never going to happen. So, I don't know. Glaives are kind of neat when I've used glaives, but I never choose them, if that's a right analysis. With that, that is the end of the mid-season weapons tuning patch that we can expect for this, as well as stuff to expect in the future season. With that, my name is Matt Scorpion. I will see you in the next video.